Welcome into our Mountain West Women's Basketball Tournament preview show presented by our Northern Nevada Toyota dealers. He's Chris Murray. I'm Shannon Kelly. Thanks for joining us. And over the next half an hour, we'll break down the Mountain West Tournament bracket. It is set. We'll take a look at some players to watch and who some of our picks are to make a run in the Mountain West Tournament as the league looks to get two teams in the NCAA tournament for the first time in 15 years.
So it all starts Sunday, the women's tournament, then followed by the men's tournament. 7 days of basketball at the Thomas and Mack Center, including 20 games. And like you said, one bid punched on the women's side, one bid punched on the men's side. And we'll see if Nevada can maybe make a run. Never played in an NCAA tournament. It's going to take a lot coming up this week to be able to accomplish that. But the Wolfpack, just like everybody else in the tournament, has a chair at the table, and we'll see if they can make a run.
Let's take a look at our tournament bracket. We'll head over to the studio.
Yeah, right over this part of the studio. So 11 teams in the Mountain West. All 11 of those teams get to play in the tournament, headlined by number 1 UNLV, and they're very familiar with this tournament, hosting it, and they've won it a lot of late.
The Lady Rebels, winners of their last 3 straight Mountain West tournament titles, going for a four-peat and claim the regular season title, something that's never been done for 4 straight years in school history under 5th-year head coach Lindy LaRocque.
Yeah, I mean, they've been fantastic under Coach LaRocque, and I think that home court advantage has been some debate. Does that help? Does that not help? On the men's side, they're like, well, it doesn't help because UNLV never wins it. It certainly has helped the Lady Rebels as they look to go back to the NCAA tournament and eventually win a game in the tournament, which is kind of the next step in the progression of that program. But first, probably going to have to win this tournament to get to the big one.
Well, you look at the rest of the bracket. San Diego State and New Mexico will face each other in the 4-5 game. The Lobos facing the Aztecs for the 4th straight year to start off the tournament. Wyoming, the number 2 seed. Colorado State, the number 3 seed. And then there's 3 first-round games on Sunday. Nevada and Boise State setting the table.
Both those teams struggling of late, both 2-5 in their last 7 games. They did split the season series during the regular season. Nevada looking to get back to the quarterfinal. It's lost in the quarterfinal round in 6 straight tournaments, but got into that round. Going to have to beat the Broncos, where it would face UNLV if it's able to win its first round game.
Air Force will take on Utah State. The Falcons have been playing really well, too, as of late.
And Utah State a couple of wins of late. Not a lot of wins overall on the season for the Aggies, but they did win a couple of games late in the regular season. Air Force is going to be a big, big favorite in that game, though.
And the final game on Sunday, Fresno State and San Jose State. The Bulldogs, the number 6 seed, they were playing really well early on and fell just shy of earning that first round bye.
And that was the big thing, right? You're a top 5 seed, you get a bye into the quarterfinal. Fresno State looked like one of those teams that was going to do it. Actually lost at home to Nevada, and that kind of did lead to some issues late in the season. But I think it's still a talented team. We'll see if they can make a run.
We'll start things back off talking about UNLV a little bit more. Lindy LaRocque's squad has the most to lose, we think, here in this Mountain West tournament as the Rebels look for a 4th straight bid to the NCAA tournament and may or may not be able to get an at-large bid if they don't win the whole thing.
So, yeah, all the pressure on UNLV, right? Because this is the best team in the tournament, the best team in the field. But at-large bids have been few over the last decade and a half for the Mountain West. You look at UNLV's resume, 24-6. They did challenge themselves at a conference this year. They played 5 Power 5 opponents, but went just 1-4 in those games. 2 of them were to ranked teams in Oklahoma and then also against Baylor. Lost to a Northwestern team that's not having a very good season. The one win over a Power Conference opponent was UCF, which is new to the Big 12. So there is an outside chance if UNLV gets to the championship game and loses, it could get an at-large bid, but I would guess not. So yes, I think the most to lose has to be UNLV because it's played so well the entire season, has that regular season championship. But if they don't win this tournament, they're probably going to the WNIT.
UNLV currently 46th in the net rankings. As you mentioned, the losses to Baylor and Oklahoma, those 2 teams both in the top 20 of the net rankings. Here is Coach Lindy LaRocque and Alyssa Brown on winning yet another Mountain West regular season title.
We aren't satisfied, and but there is a list of things that we started at the beginning of the year that we wanted to accomplish, and this was the first one, being the regular season champions. 4 in a row, never done in conference history, and never done in this program, and frankly across the country. It's rarely been done across conferences, so you got to kind of guard yourself from the emotion a little bit, but obviously celebrate the victory, celebrate the championship, because it is monumental.
It's kind of unbelievable. Very proud of our group. Blessed to be in this position. You know, someone who's been here for 4 years and been a part of all of it. Super proud of the girls.
Talking about Wyoming now, a team we believe has one of the more favorable paths in the tournament, sitting as the #2 seed. And the Cowgirls just took down the Lady Rebels in the last regular season game of the year. Wyoming hungry for some revenge after falling to UNLV in the Mountain West tournament final 2 years ago, and then a quick exit last year at the Mountain West tournament.
It's always hard to say who has a favorable path because you don't know how it's going to break down, and you always have to beat good teams if you're going to win a conference tournament. But you look at the lower half of the bracket, Wyoming is 5-1 against those other teams. The only loss was against Colorado State a couple of months ago. And then Wyoming, you look at how they played of late, 9-1 in its last 10 games. So I think if you're saying, okay, who has the easiest path to maybe winning a Mountain West title, I think it would be Wyoming. But to be able to do that, you got to beat Colorado State, your big rival, and then you got to beat UNLV probably in the championship game. So there's a pathway for Wyoming to get to the NCAA tournament, but it's not going to be easy.
Colorado State and Wyoming split during the regular season. How about a sleeper team? Fresno State, the Bulldogs. As we mentioned, they were really hot early on in the season. They'd have to win 4 games in 4 days to earn that automatic bid, but certainly a team that could make some noise, powered by Mia Jacobs.
I think that's the reason that they are the sleeper team. You could argue Mia Jacobs is the best all-around player in this tournament. She's a great scorer. She's a great defensive player. She's got height. She's got versatility. And then she's surrounded by players who can hit three-pointers. Fresno State hit 34% from 3 this year. And that's a lot, you know, when you look at NCAA tournaments or conference tournaments. If you hit your threes, you automatically become super dangerous. So you got a star player. You've got players around her who can make threes. So if you had to pick a sleeper who's going to play on the first round, who could maybe win the championship, for me, it's Fresno State.
The Bulldogs with its first winning season in the first time in the last couple of years. Coming up next year on our Mountain West Women's Basketball Tournament preview show, we'll break down the Wolfpack a little bit more and head coach Amanda Levin's squad. Welcome back. Taking a look now at Nevada, led by 8th-year head coach Amanda Levins. The Wolfpack looking to make a run in the tournament for the first time since Coach Levin's first year at the helm, when they advanced to the Mountain West tournament final, fell just shy to Boise State. And since then, Nevada has not been able to get past the Mountain West tournament quarterfinals. The Wolfpack is a little bit shorthanded this year. Some injuries have derailed Nevada, but we'll see what they can do down in Las Vegas.
Yeah, you look at the history of this tournament under Coach Levins, like you mentioned, 2018, that was a super exciting run. Nevada won 3 straight games. They get to that championship game, losing to Boise State on a heartbreaker. Since then, 6 tournaments, just 3 wins in those 6 tournaments, 3-6 overall, never passed the quarterfinals. And for just the second time in the last 5 years, Nevada has to play in this first round. 3 of the last 4, the Wolfpack had gotten that bye into the quarterfinals. So starting a day early, and I think the big thing for Nevada, it's pretty crazy to say, but the entire season never won back-to-back games. If you're going to win this tournament, you got to win 4 in a row. Obviously, you got to start with that first one, but that is the monumental challenge that awaits the Wolfpack.
The Wolfpack returned its top 7 scorers this season, but was struggling to find consistency. As you mentioned, had yet to win back-to-back games all season long, has had a handful of injuries that have hurt Nevada, and certainly down the stretch, Izzy Sullivan, we saw, didn't play in the Wyoming game, and Olivia Poulavati went down during the Wyoming game, and also Kennedy Lee hasn't played. So certainly there's been some areas that if Nevada had some healthy players, maybe some outcomes could have been different.
I mean, you're talking about 4 rotation players, 3 probable starters who are not available because of injuries, some early in the season, some more recently. I think the injury to Izzy Sullivan has really hurt this team. She is their best 3-point shooter, the sophomore out of the Seattle area. During the 5-game losing streak Nevada takes into this tournament, shooting just 18% from 3. The Wolfpack doesn't have a ton of post scoring to start with. Losing Kennedy Lee, who you just saw there, impacted Nevada early in the season. So if you don't have that post scoring, you need to get some outside shooting, and not having Izzy has really impacted the Wolfpack's ability to knock down threes and kind of keep pace offensively with its opponent.
Here is Coach Levins and Dominique Maxey on what it's going to take to come away with a couple wins in Vegas.
I think if we could get our red shirts eligible and our players that are injured healthy, then we'd have a great chance. But I think with 8, it's going to be really, really tough. And we're going to lean on these guys a lot to play a lot of minutes and play in back-to-back games. I think it's possible, but I think we're going to have to score much better than we're scoring right now to have a chance.
And first of all, we just want to finish strong for our seniors, so that's just giving our 110% every game. I think us being together and just always fighting to be the best we can be, that's how we have to finish our season, regardless of the records and who we're playing.
Developing our young players is really important. And Daimo's talking about our seniors and stuff, but I mean, she's one of our, if not the leader. We have a sophomore that I think has great leadership qualities, sitting right next to me. But continuing to see her grow and develop, and I think the underclassmen having the opportunity to finish strong, I think a lot of that can carry to the off season and create excitement and help them stay motivated.
Well, if Coach Levens had a magic wand, I think we know what 2 of her wishes would be: to get some players healthy and to get those red shirts eligible.
I mean, it's a difficult situation, right? You never know how injuries are going to hit you. Nevada lost a couple of post players really early in the non-conference season, so you got hurt there. And then Izzy Sullivan, as we mentioned, going out, very difficult as well. But all you can do is take the players who are healthy and go and try and do something special. You go back to that first year under Coach Levens. It was a senior-laden squad, and there are some pretty talented seniors on this year's roster. Lexi Givens, Nevada's best player. Audrey Roden, one of those players who's been through a lot of the battles. Well, that team in 2018 was the 7th seed. This is the 9th seed. So Nevada was able to do it and get within 1 basket of winning the Mountain West tournament. It's definitely going to be a major challenge, but you got to go in there with some belief, and you got to win the first game. And you go back to 2018, those were all really close games as well. Can you play a close game, put yourself in a position to maybe pull one out, a game you're not expected to win? And they are playing Boise State in the first round, not as banged up, but they have really struggled on the court over the last month as well, just 2-7 in their last 9 games.
These are 2 teams that also split during the regular season. Nevada came up short against Boise State in Boise, but it was a close game as well. There was just a couple breakdowns late in that game, and then Nevada was able to come away with a victory against the Broncos at Lawler Event Center. And this is a Boise State team that also returned all 5 of its starters. Its top 6 scorers returned this year, and things maybe just haven't materialized the way head coach Gordy Presnell was hoping for.
And I think you're kind of seeing that in college basketball, to be honest. I mean, everybody talks about you want that experience, you want those veterans, and sometimes, well, you just don't see that next jump. This was supposed to be the year where the Wolfpack took that jump, returning all 7 of their top scorers. Same with Boise State, bringing back so many veteran players. Hasn't played out, but that's the great thing about college basketball, is this is basically the start of the NCAA tournament. This is your pathway to getting to the big dance. Everybody has that fresh slate. Everybody has that opportunity to go play well for 1 week and then play in the biggest tournament of the year. Can either of these teams do it? We're going to find out on Sunday. One thing to know about Boise State, Abby Muse, 6'3" center. She's led the Mountain West in blocks 3 straight seasons. She's more than 325 blocks in her career. That's going to be a big challenge for Nevada on the inside. So we talked about the struggles from the 3-point line. Nevada's going to have to knock some of those down, and Lexi Givens going to have to be really, really aggressive. There's some games where she only takes, 3 to 5 shots. She's Nevada's most talented player offensively. She's got to go leave her impression on this game against Boise State, and if Nevada's going to make a run, an impression on the entire tournament for the Wolfpack.
Nevada will have to get to the line too in this game, definitely be aggressive to try and come away with a win. The Broncos looking for its first Mountain West tournament title since 2020. They won 4 straight from 2017 to through 2020. So the Broncos will look to make a run this year, and the winner between Nevada and Boise State will face the #1 seed UNLV on Monday afternoon. Coming up next year, we'll take a look at a few of the players around the league and who to keep an eye on in Vegas. Welcome back. Taking a look now at a few of the players to look out for this week in Las Vegas. Let's start out with Wyoming's Allison Fertig, one of the best shot blockers in the Mountain West. She's a senior with the Cowgirls this year and is hoping to make her mark and help the Cowgirls advance to an NCAA tournament.
Yeah, 6'4" center, and she can do it all. I mean, she's at 19 points per game, 11 rebounds per game, a couple of blocks. She shoots almost 60% from the field. She actually didn't play in that most recent game against Nevada at Lawler Event Center, and the Cowgirls were in a major hole in the 4th quarter, down 14 points. That's how important she is to the team. she has some good supporting pieces, but the reason that Wyoming is the #2 seed, the reason why the Cowgirls have belief it can win this tournament is because of Allison Fertig. She's originally from Wyoming, 4 years with the Cowgirls. So really cool story that she opted to stay home, because this girl could have played anywhere in the nation and been an impact player. So she is certainly somebody to watch for over the next coming days.
Fertig has played the last 3 games in a row for Wyoming after that missing that game here in Reno, and we got to see firsthand their offense and their whole team looked a little off without her. Just shows how much of a presence she has.
So the win against UNLV in the regular season finale, they hit 12 3-pointers out of 24 attempts. The reason those are open was because there's a 6'4" center who can score on anybody in the post. So she does make everybody around her so much better.
How about Mia Jacobs from Fresno State? We mentioned her a little bit earlier on in the show, but the Bulldogs, she's been their go-to scorer. She's averaging almost a double-double this season and has certainly been their best player this year.
Yeah, I mean, she's a high major player. She could play anywhere in the country as well. She began her career at LaSalle with her twin sisters. Claire, one of those twin sisters, was at Nevada last year. Mia then went to Fresno State prior to last season. She was a good player. She's taken another step forward, and I think the great thing about her game is that she is so versatile and she does so many things well. She's a very good defensive player. She's got height. It seems like she really craves the big moments, and she's going to take those shots. So she's one of the most fun players in the Mountain West to watch, and we'll see if they can make a little bit of run behind her, because individuals can put teams on their shoulders when it comes to conference tournament play, and that'll be Mia's challenge coming up this week.
When we take a look at UNLV's roster, a handful of girls we could have picked here, but how about Emirachi Kimpson, the reigning Mountain West Freshman of the Year? She's been doing good things for UNLV this season as their leading scorer and has helped certainly be a big presence for the Rebels.
I think that's the different thing about the Lady Rebels this year is the last 4 years you had Desiree Young, and she was kind of the star. She was the post player. She was going to get all the touches and the shots. She was going to get the defensive attention. That's great. But you look at UNLV now, and they've got like 5 or 6 stars. They don't have that one person. If you lock down, you got a really good chance of winning the game. I would say Kimpson probably the most important player, only a sophomore. She's a really good shooter, gets to the free throw line a decent amount, good defensively as well. So this is a more balanced team, which doesn't have that star level. So I think a little bit more vulnerable than years past, but also more versatile in how they're able to score and how they're able to play. You cannot just key in on one player against UNLV and say, if we take care of that player, we're going to be good, because there is so much more depth in that starting lineup.
Their freshman Meadow Rowland averaging 13 points per game, 6 rebounds per game off the bench in the last 10 games. So she's peaking, and as you mentioned, they have a handful of other players as well who are pretty dominant for the Rebels. How about Colorado State's Emma Ronzik, the sister of Hannah Ronzik, and she transferred in from Creighton this year, but Emma has been a force for the Rams, and they have not taken a step back since losing McKenna Hofschild.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a surprise, honestly, because to me, McKenna Hofschild was probably the best player in the league the last couple of years, and then you lose that player. Now, Emma did come from Creighton, like you mentioned. She was a multiple-time All-Big East honoree, so you knew she was really, really good, averaging just shy of 18 points per game. She's made 69 three-pointers. I think Colorado State's offense is probably the best in the Mountain West, and playing with your sister your senior season has to be really cool as well. So Colorado State always has really good guard play, always has really good shooters, and Emma Ronzik is kind of the big name for the Rams this season.
The Rams have yet to go to the NCAA tournament since 2016, so nearing an 8-year skid. How about our last player to take an eye out for? Air Force's Melania Perry, one of the best backcourt players in the Mountain West this season. She's certainly helped them in scoring too.
Yeah, she's like a born scorer. I mean, she's going to take your 15 shots per game. She's going to give you 16, 17 points per game. The three-point ball has kind of not been there this season. She's only shooting 28% from 3. Last year it was 36%. Nevada actually had really good success against her this year. She only had like 5 games held in single figures, and 2 of them were against the Wolfpack. But more than 1,200 points in her career, and she's only a junior. Air Force has kind of had an up-and-down season, good in non-conference, bad to start the Mountain West play, playing better toward the back half of the Mountain West season, and they really go as Perry goes. She's a really talented player.
She is. The Falcons led by first-year head coach Stacey McIntyre. Coming up next, we'll wrap things up here with some predictions of our own. Who's going to make a run in Las Vegas? Wrapping things up on our Northern Nevada Toyota Dealers Mountain West Women's Basketball Tournament show. Time now for some picks and predictions. As a full disclaimer, Chris and I do not look at each other's picks before we submit these to our producer, Zach Larson, who put this show together for us. But Chris, we have the same team winning it all once again this year.
We do. So Zach, our producer, actually asked me for my pick before the UNLV-Wyoming regular season finale that Wyoming won. I didn't want him to have to change the CG, so I'll go with UNLV, even though Wyoming did clip the Lady Rebels late in the regular season. I'm going with the 8-peat, 4 straight regular season titles, 4 straight conference tournaments. I think it's the best team, not by a ton, still the best team, and the home court advantage I think does matter. So I'm going to go with the Lady Rebels, and I guess you are too.
I am. I do think the home court advantage matters. You look at Lindy LaRocque's 5 seasons, 79-11 in Mountain West regular season play. Pretty stellar, but as you mentioned, I don't think it'll necessarily be a blowout by any means if they're to advance to the Mountain West tournament title game. Taking a look at your MVP, Chris, who do you have?
I'm going to go with Amaranchi Kimpson. We are going to stay with UNLV. I don't know if there's actually ever been a conference tournament MVP from a team that didn't win the conference tournament. So I'm looking at UNLV's roster. I came up with Kimpson. But there are a number of different candidates because as we talked about, UNLV's roster has so many talented players that there are a number of women who could step up and kind of take that MVP title.
Well, I'm beating the odds in this one, and I'm going with Wyoming's Allison Fertig because I do think it is a toss-up as to who could win that game if they were to both advance.
So you're covered either way.
So I'm covered either way. I'm betting safe. I'm betting safe. Allison Fertig, as we mentioned, she's been so dominant for Wyoming this season, and we saw in that game against UNLV just a few days ago how important her presence was. So she is my MVP. How about your dark horse team?
A number 4 seed. I don't know if that's quite a dark horse, but I'm going with San Diego State. They are one of the 2 Mountain West teams that did beat UNLV this season. That happened in late January. Since then, the Aztecs are 8-2 in their last 10, including a 5-game winning streak coming into this tournament.
My dark horse team, New Mexico. As you mentioned, maybe not a dark horse since they got a first-round bye as they'll face San Diego State. But you look at what Mike Bradbury's squad has done this year. They returned just 1 starter in Vianney Cumber this offseason. She just set the Lobos' new school record for 3-point makes. I feel like they've been peaking at the right time. They could upset some people.
We'll see what happens.
Should be an exciting week in Las Vegas. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.